I'll start with the question of how did you come to this kind of work? How did you kind of find your sweet spot of where you want to be helping women like this?
Yeah, I don't know. Does anyone have a short story? I'm not sure.
Take your
I'll,
time.
I'll put it in a nutshell, I suppose. I have had ADHD always. And growing up in the 90s with ADHD, such a trip. I don't know how old either of you are, but in the 90s, especially, like, it was a joke. It was just a joke. ADHD was something that was very much looked over, and not any support where I was. I'm from a town of 2,000 people, and in southeast Kansas, and there wasn't really support for that. It was more of your traditional work harder, pay attention, sit still, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
We're talking about good girl, conditioning today for sure. At some point, but a lot of those types of things, right? You know what it's like to have a nature about you that's told is wrong, and or that for whatever reason you can't translate for people. And so my whole life, I knew something, but I had no idea really like what any of this meant. And it wasn't until much later in life, of course, you go through life and you pack on all these different identities and you shape shift and you morph and you try to be, of course, I fought a lot too, because I definitely have some, authoritative issues. Or maybe issues not the right word. I actually don't think it's a problem, but like, I really had a strong sense of personal sovereignty also growing up. But I think one thing I heard over and over again my whole life was, why do you always have to make everything so much harder? Like, you just make things harder. And so at some point I decided to just do it like everyone else. And it was cool for a while. I mean, I was accepted. Yes, I heard a lot of terrible things that definitely, as soon as you realize you're in spaces that, yes, they are loving and supporting you conditionally, that's hard. Was married, and really it was only after I was married, divorced, and in a job that I absolutely hated, I was like, who am I anymore? You know what I mean? And what am I doing, and why do I feel like I don't know myself? But there's a part of me that's like crawling out, and honestly, that was when I came to meet my very first coach. Her name was Anna, and she was a lifesaver for me. She helped me learn self-compassion in ways that I forgot. And that was really where it all began for me. And so that's not a short story, but that's the story.